does mean that we are recording. So, well, I'm recording at least. Gavin is 0% uploaded.
I don't even know how to record.
Uploading now?
Yeah, now you're uploading. Well, it's
There
a button that I hit.
Yeah.
I just hit a button that says record, and then that does the magic. So,
how do I sound? Do I sound okay?
You sound perfectly fine, Gavin. You sound like yourself.
Beautiful. All right. I'm going to go on mute and put the post up, and then we'll get started.
Okay. Well, I mean, mute's a strong term, because now how am I going to know when the post is up? How am I going to know when you're ready to go, Gavin? Are you going to like do a song and a dance? Are you going to give me a thumbs up?
I'll give you the thumbs up. I'll give you the thumbs up.
Right. You could just unmute yourself and be like, we're good to go.
I could do that. I'm not going to, but I could.
Ooh, nice what? Jose Cuervo shirt.
Hey, like thanks. That. Spent 5 years working for him.
Taste tester? Or?
Well, I mean, from time to time, but yeah. Dude, my cat is trying so hard to just like be living his life right now, and I'm just like not letting him. He's like settled in, and I'm like, no. You get attention even though you don't want it right now. So his fur is all tussled up and everything. He's so unhappy about it.
Week 12, right? 1 week 12?
Are we week 12? Or because I mean Miami's played 13 games, so
yeah, but
and you know Minnesota's only played 10 games, so
that's weird.
They've been on what, 2 bye weeks in a row?
Yeah, so they have been on 2 bye weeks in a row, which is insane to me. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah. All right. You can probably hear me typing, but
I hear you typing.
Unmute again.
That's okay.
All right, here we are.
Gavin, we're not even, this isn't even the live part of the show yet.
Got your thumbs up?
Thank you. Is that thumbs up the one that you're indicating, saying that we're good to go, that you're ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Wyatt
are you ready?
Christian. You go back to Christian, right?
Is it okay that it says 95% uploading?
Yeah, it's okay. Fine. It's moving along. It doesn't need to be 100% uploaded because that's the number that it hits when I hit stop recording. So
okay,
it just got to get close. Unlike Gavin, who is 39% uploaded and not moving even a little bit.
I'm not sure why it's doing that.
Maybe your internet sucks. I mean, have you considered that?
My internet's usually peak. It's usually chill.
Mm-hmm. Well, tonight it's peaking at 39%. So
yeah. My Google Chrome, all I've got is Chrome up, and that's literally it.
Tell me again, I always love hearing the excuses. Hold on, let me sign out of all my... I'm going to sign out of all my other apps, though, that I have open, just to conserve some resources here, since Edge takes up 1,000,000% of any system resources, and I've got 3 tabs open in Edge, which basically is like one step away from setting my whole computer on fire. So,
well, I'm ready.
Okay,
I'm ready when you guys are.
All right. Why I can't remember. Do you prefer to go by Wyatt or Christian? Or Christian
Wyatt. I just go by Wyatt. Uh-oh.
Okay. There we go. Uh-oh. I heard an uh-oh.
My camera froze for a second.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
Well, that's all right. Yeah, you're moving on my screen. So, and you know what? You're moving our hearts too.
Well, I'm hoping to move some hearts to get rid of Gary Smith. We'll see.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that soon. But hey, you know what we got to do first? I got to do this thing where I hit this thing.
That was very descriptive.
It was very anticlimactic. Russell, we're not hearing anything. What's going on? Big Russ.
Yeah?
What's going on?
What do you mean?
Where's the music?
What do you mean, where's the music? The music's going.
No, it's not.
It has to be going. I mean, it's impossible for it not to be going.
We cannot hear the music.
Dang, that's insane. I've not muted it.
You've muted it.
No, on my soundboard here, I've got all the got it all.
What? Can you hear the music?
Nope.
Maybe it's just me.
I don't know what to tell you then. Hey, you know what? Hold on. We can do this the old-fashioned way. You ready for this?
All right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the MLS Now podcast. I'm your host. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Danger Russ. That's right. It's me, Russell. Joining me, of course, our wonderful co-host. We've got Gavin. You can find him on social media at LionsBlog1. Gavin, hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Should we say good evening in celebration of Aston Villa not winning today?
Ooh, well, you know who also didn't win today?
Who was that?
It's Arsenal, because we have not yet seen the outcome of the match on Tuesday, where we have to pick between Spurs winning or Spurs losing, and I don't know if I can tolerate either of those outcomes. So we'll see.
Give me a 4-4 draw. 4-4 draw.
Yeah, 4-4 draw. That would be something. Well, hey, anyways, joining us though, we have a wonderful guest, longtime guest, I should say. Not his first time, not his second time. I don't even know how many times he's been on here. We've got Wyatt. You can find him on social media at Super Duper Wyatt. Wyatt, hello. Welcome back for the upteenth time.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I love being on this podcast.
Well, we love having you. And just a reminder, because I haven't said it yet, if you are listening to the podcast and you want to follow us on social media, you can find us basically everywhere at MLS Now Podcast, as well as on a website, mlsnowpodcast.com. Whew. Okay, with that out of the way, guys, I don't know about you, but it's mandatory. We have to do a drink check. I've not seen anything from Gavin. I've got, again, the same vanilla porters I've been working on for like 5 weeks now. So I've got one left. That should tell you when I'm drinking these, roughly.
Once a week. I've got nothing. Nada.
Dang.
Yep.
I just finished
not even
Yoo-hoo.
water. Oh my gosh. That's taken me back. I feel like my childhood is here.
Yoo-hoo, the chocolate drink, because they can't call it chocolate milk.
Oh, well, that's all right. It's better than chocolate milk
It's so good.
because it comes with all the guilt. Milk, you got what, like all the campaigns like growing up where it's like all the billboards and it's like drink more milk, and like the athletes are there and it's like, why do I need to drink this much milk? And now you never see those.
Yeah. It was big dairy.
Yeah, the
I was
big
gonna say,
dairy lobby.
Big Milk ran out of money.
Yeah, they were really milking it. What can I say?
Bazinga.
Nailed it. So, what can I say? We're all cheesing over here at that joke. I could make these jokes until the cows come home. What can I say?
Okay, Russell. Okay.
All right.
That's enough. I'm cutting you
All
off
right.
at 3.
You're cutting me off at 3. Dang, it was last call. We're gonna moving on here.
That was utterly embarrassing.
Oh, now Wyatt's in on it. Gavin is in his own personal hell over here. He can't stand it.
I know you're thinking another one. Let's go.
I am. It would not behoove me to carry this on for too long, though, would it?
It would.
All right. Okay. Now, actually, let's really move on. This week on our random topic of the week to lead in here, and it ties in with something that Wyatt is, passionate about, is hitting rock bottom here in the life cycle of a coach. So, I want to be objective here, though, guys. We're gonna take off our fandom hats. We're gonna think about this very logically and clearly and concisely about what it means to move on from a coach and when that decision actually has to happen. Because we've seen occurrences where I think we all would be like, that's a bad hire, or it's the wrong coach, to have on a team. Caleb Porter, great example of that. Probably the wrong hire for New England. Not exactly a great coach. Players don't really seem to respect him at this point. Fans don't really seem to like him. And yet, he's staying there. Do fans just stop showing up to matches? We've seen fans boycott matches when they want front office or even coaches out. It works to varying degrees. Sometimes there's a response and sometimes there's not. Or is it that you just need a long string of results that are really poor, and then eventually management of the team just says, hey, you know what? We have to make it look like we're doing something here. Like we're not just accepting mediocrity or even just punting on the season. But then you look at that and it's like Adrian Heath had a job for way too long. Nick Cushing still has his job. He's lived long enough through his super villain arc that he might actually become like Megamind, and he's becoming a hero now. So, I mean, like, again, who even knows at this point if results even matter? So, like, for you guys, for Gavin and for Wyatt, what does it look like in your minds when, when's enough, I suppose? And I'll put Wyatt on the spot because Gavin's muted, and I want to be very kind to Gavin and not put him on the spot and have him start talking and no one hear anything at all.
Yeah, this is a conversation that's pretty big in Nashville right now. So I think for me, there's been a Gary out crowd, I would say, for at least 3 years. I just jumped on it this last year. I think a big sign to me is when you start seeing the player frustration and then the players start getting frustrated with the coaching decisions, because if the players start doubting, you're going to see it on the field the most. And I think that's what's happened in Nashville. And so I'm trying to think if it was, we beat Montreal. I forgot who we played before them. But he took Sam Surridge out at the 85th minute, and you could tell Sam Surridge was livid. We were down 1 and, could have found an equalizer. And he had some words to say when he came off the sideline. And when you see stuff like that, you're like, why are we doing this? So.
I agree. I think it is, the trigger is usually the players. I think that's the correct answer. Whenever you think of the main, any coach firing, it almost always is the players have down tools. The results aren't going the way everyone wants them to go, and usually teams wait and wait and wait until the fans are like, we've been calling for this for so long, like what is going on? And then finally the coach gets fired, and the fans are like, we should have done this 2 months ago. Why did you wait so long? And it's because it's a lot of money. You're cutting a contract, you're paying someone to leave, and then you have to sign someone, and there's signing bonuses, and you might not just be cutting one person, you might be cutting a whole coaching staff behind that one coach. In New England Revolution's case, they had to go and hire a head of recruitment because Bruce Arena was doing more than just coaching. He was also getting the players in as well. So there's a lot of logistics and moving pieces and behind the scenes in the front office. And offices don't always move as quickly as we want them to in the corporate world. And sports offices are still kind of corporate-y. So I think there's some of those logistical things, decisions needing to be made from busy people. And then, when it comes to when is the right time, it's really when the players just stop really playing for the coach and just don't trust him.
I think in the MLS, especially in American sports, I should say, not showing up to games as true fans isn't going to do as much, because we have people in Nashville who just show up as a social event. They hang out in the bar areas. They're still paying to get in, and they might check out the game as it's going on. But, we've sold 24,000 season tickets every year. They don't even care if we show up, I think. But what MLS has to put pressure on them are those DPs. I think other leagues can go get superstars easier and stuff like that, but having designated players that if they start speaking out against the coach, I think that goes a lot further.
Very fair points. I think one really good thought process that is kind of kicking off in my head now, spawned in part by Gavin, is when you talk about getting rid of a coach, like, would teams be better for it if they made knee-jerk reactions, Or is that slow, methodical process what you have to do as a successful and competent front office? Because, to your point, you got to identify the next coach, right, Gavin? You have to understand when you get rid of someone, what are you getting rid of? What are you getting rid of? Are you getting rid of the support network? Are you getting rid of set piece coaches, recruiting? Are you getting someone who is, providing some other service beyond just what's going on the field on match days? But at the same time, I mean, if you're making the knee-jerk reaction, does the benefit of the doubt come from the fans where maybe they back you more, where it's like they say, well, look, the front office knows it's not good. They're listening to us. Do you rally the players from thinking, well, the front office expects more of us. They're not going to, let us sit around and, try to figure out something that is going to work if it's clearly not going to work. Like they're taking the decision out of our hands at that point. So can it be good? Can it be bad? Like, where do you fall on that?
Sorry, can it be good to what?
If offices were less corporate-y and were, more knee-jerk reaction, where instead of sitting and like looking and making this long-term plan and fans being like, we should have done this 2 months ago. What if it truly was like you went through 2 bad months of, performances and you said, hey, Peter Vermees, you went winless in your first 10 matches of the year. You're gone.
Yeah, I think there's time. I'm going to speak as a UT Vols football fan of when we went through 5 coaches in 8 years or something stupid like that. And you have to give a coach time to settle in and stuff like that. I think a knee-jerk reaction is a different extreme to we're going to hold out because we don't want to make changes and cost. Like there's a middle ground of we see the fans are unhappy. We see the players are unhappy. The results, say you've won 7 games out of your last 27, it's
I feel random number you're pulling out there, right?
Yeah. 2 of those teams were a Dominican Republic team, so I think there shouldn't be a knee-jerk reaction, but I think every coach has a long-term plan. You wouldn't be a coach in the MLS if you didn't have a short-term plan and a long-term plan. But when that long-term plan is clearly not working, I think it is time to start looking at what's next.
Gavin, final word there before we wrap up.
No, I don't really have anything else. I think I agree. There's a balance to be struck. You can't be too knee-jerk. But I do think some of these go on a little too long.
Fair enough. Well, just on the topic of coaches, and before we get into talking about the actual matches here for the weekend, Jesse Marsch, Canada men's national team coach, official. Thoughts, reactions? Are you glad he went to Canada? Are you envious of Canada?
I think envious is a good word.
Envious that they have anyone other than Berhalter.
Yeah, Gigi, whatever. Yeah, I think players seem to love him. He has good chemistry with players. I think Canada is a good place for him to really prove himself. I never expected the U.S. to go after him, even though I think a while ago he voiced some interest or something like that. But for whatever reason, they're stuck on Greg.
Yeah, maybe envious or just like I don't know do you think he would do good if he was given the men's USMNT job? Do you think like he's the guy to bring this team to like a quarterfinal or semifinal in the World Cup?
My problem is I don't think Greg is that guy. So
agreed. We've had that convo.
Yeah. So like, is there any harm in trying a different coach if you know the one you have right now isn't going to get you to your goals?
Well, the harm would be, don't the players absolutely love Greg?
I mean, don't players absolutely love Jesse Marsch?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. Like we've talked about before, we're not losing Greg until Copa America. I think that's where we're going to see if he performs well, we keep him for the World Cup. If he doesn't perform well, we go again. And I guess it's not going to be Jesse Marsch available. It's going to be someone else. Wilfred Nazi.
If only.
If only.
If only. That would be phenomenal. But I don't think he'll be a U.S. men's national team coach. Potentially ever.
Yeah, it'd have to be like late in his career, probably. He's going to Europe soon, I bet.
Oh, absolutely. I give him 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. Guys, we are changing up the format just a little bit here this week. In the past, I've given us like 3 categories, like boom, 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 good, bad, ugly, different types of matches that occurred. And I thought maybe we should take this one step further, because sometimes you have a really, really garbage performance from a team and a really amazing performance from another team. And it's like, where do you put that? Do you put that into like the good? Do you put it into like the ugly? Because then you're over attributing one team, you're under attributing another, no matter where you go. So instead, I want to just talk about the teams themselves, and we'll talk about their matches and their results. I've got 5 different topics on this one. We've gone with some aviation theme this week. We've got cleared for takeoff, full throttle, cruising altitude, stall warning, and nosedive. And Wyatt, as the guest, I'm going to give you first dibs on which of these you want to hit on first.
Let's go from worst to best. Let's go with nosedive.
Nosedive. All right. Well, hey, we are going to lead off with near and dear to your heart. We're hitting on Nashville first, who lost 1-0 to Charlotte. It was away, in fairness. Charlotte are really good at home. Would you describe things as bleak, Wyatt?
Yeah, I think bleak is a good word. Kind of bordering on hopeless at this point, as the week before, Sam Surridge came out with a hat trick. Granted, it was against Montreal, but it was the first time, I would say, since Leagues Cup that we felt like the team played together. The boys played well together. And so we all kind of got our hopes up of like, okay, maybe they found something. And even though it was just a 1-0 loss, again, away, it's how they looked on the field, just kind of walking around, not going for it. And kind of going back to our other subject of they don't look happy with whatever the game plan is. And, there's people out there who's like, oh, Walker Zimmerman's been hurt, which is huge for us. He's the only center back we have that can actually pass it upfield. But even when he came on, we were disorganized. He got beat badly, I think, for that goal. And so it wasn't necessarily the end result, but the lack of passion and lack of drive we saw on the field.
I believe I saw that this was a historically potentially worst ever performance in terms of stats or metrics for Nashville.
Yeah, we don't always have the highest XG usually ever. But yeah, I think it was, let me pull it because I just had it. I think it was 0.1 or 0.15 for the whole game.
That's not great.
So, previous Golden Boot winner, Sam Surridge, who has a good foot on him, did well in the Championship League over in Europe, in England. And then we have 0.15 against Charlotte, who isn't horrible, but also not like a lockdown defense type of. So it very disheartening, kind of took that nosedive, to use that term of, we're bad. We've had 2 wins this whole season. And again, 7 wins in the last 27 since Leagues Cup final.
Who were those wins against?
2 of them were Mocha FC from Dominican Republic. Last year to end the season, I think we beat New England. And this year was, I believe, it was Montreal. And then was it Charlotte that we beat at the beginning of the year? I should know that. I was there.
You were there, but you're blocking out the entire season at this point.
It's like a blur at this point as we just tried to figure out what happened. It was Charlotte that we beat, which was also questionable because I'll say it on here for all the Charlotte fans. They should have had a penalty, and we kind of got lucked out by those substitute refs at the time. So, we, again, went to Leagues Cup final. I think Gary Smith's play works really well in a tournament type, as you just hold back and hope to go to penalties kind of thing. That got us through a couple games. But whether that just killed faith in Gary Smith or that just killed faith in themselves, since then, it just hasn't been the same team. I say that we were on a 4-game losing streak going into the Leagues Cup too. So maybe MLS has just figured out Gary Smith and Nashville SC game. And that is one thing I've said about him since I've started watching Nashville SC is he's one of the worst managers at making adjustments in a game. He's just going to try his tactic over and over again and not adjust. So that's hurt us pretty bad. I think we've had 3 comebacks of being up 2-0 and the team either coming back and tying or winning this season. So
Most dangerous lead.
it is.
Yeah. I was reading the some quotes from the press conference. You may have seen these. But he says, Gary Smith says, from where I was sitting, it's a 0-0 game. I've just looked at the stats, compared the stats, very tight game, few chances either way. And, unfortunately, we fall on the wrong side again.
Yeah. That's also
for me, that could be true. Like, yeah, maybe the game should be 0-0. But, like, as a head coach, shouldn't that be an issue that you're not happy with? Not that you're using as an excuse, oh, it should have been 0-0, but we lost. Like, shouldn't you be trying to win the game and saying, oh, it should have been 0-0, but that's not what we want. We want to be winning 3-0, especially with the attacking talent you guys have.
Yeah, he's made some weird quotes. A couple games ago, he kind of threw our general manager, Mike Jacobs, under the bus. That was pretty funny. And then I think last week or the week before, he got the question of if he feels like he's in the hot seat. And he said, I've gone to the playoffs more than anybody else, was his quote. Like, that's cool. We don't get anything for going to the playoffs. And now half the teams go to the playoffs. Like, and to us fans, that was kind of a punch in the gut as like, okay, that's his goal, I guess, is he just needs to make it to the playoffs. And what scares me is maybe that's our front office goal. It's like, hey, just make it to the playoffs and you're good. And he knows now that half the teams make it, so he's probably still not worried, even though I think we're third to last place in the league.
Maybe tell you. Yeah,
hey,
you are. Go ahead,
real
Gavin.
Quick, we got a chat from Dana Clendenin. Will Gary? It's about Nashville. Will Gary last the season as manager?
I think he will, going from our conversation in the beginning. He just got a contract extension last year. Nobody was very happy about. And our front office, I don't think would make moves. I say that, but they did fire our MLS Next Pro coach 4 games after the season started, but I think there was something else there. I would be surprised if he didn't even come back next season. He's filling seats. I will say the crowd's getting louder. We have a tradition of when they're doing the roster lineup call out over the PA system, we yell gold after everyone's name. And we used to say he's gold too after, and managed by Gary Smith. And now the whole stadium just boos after they announce Gary Smith. So, maybe we still show up to the games to support the guys on the field, but we're going to make it known that we're not too happy with the manager right now.
Booze is crazy. You don't hear that a lot, I don't think, in American soccer. Usually it's
for the other team.
Casuals.
Yeah,
you're booing the other team. You're not booing your own team.
Or it's
I'll
the refs.
boo my own team if they deserve it. Oh, definitely the refs. Yeah, but
we never boo the players. I will say that.
Yeah,
we don't. It's just, again, this season especially, we've seen a lot of aggravation from the players with some managing decision. We had Dan Lovitz just kick a amazing amazing ball downfield after winning the ball, and you see Gary Smith yelling at him to hold it, but Schaffelberg ended up getting the ball and making a good shot on goal. It got saved, but Dan Lovitz even threw his arms up. Like, did you just see that? Like, we made a play, we got a shot on goal, and you see Gary over there like putting his hands down, like slow it down, stop, and then you're like, okay. So it's getting to the point where I think the players are upset. Den Lovitz hasn't been hurt, but he hasn't been playing a lot, and just from what I've heard from him is he's very outspoken, and I think there's just issues going on there too.
Well, hey, you never know. If the whole locker room goes, maybe Gary Smith will finally be gone.
I'd be very surprised.
Oof. All right. Gavin, anything else to add on here? Otherwise, we still have 2 other train wrecks to talk about.
Let's keep it moving.
All right. Hey, talking about players who are frustrated with their coaches, we've also got New England losing 2-4 to New York Red Bulls. Nick Lima apparently told Caleb Porter, "Let me do my job," when Porter was trying to give him instructions about how to do his job. So it seems to me that there is some distaste even from the players on the field there. Porter has not given New England hardly any good results. They sit in 15th in the East. I think they are dead last overall in the league as well. They're sitting on 7 points from 11 matches played. Somehow he won't get fired, though. That's the insane thing to me, is I have zero faith that New England will fire him.
It's too early. This is the knee jerk, what we were just talking about. That would be a little too knee jerky. I mean, yeah, they're worst team in the league. They're terrible. It is his first season, and they didn't really have a head of recruitment. They just hired last week. What's his name? David Camerman. They just brought him in to be head of player recruitment. So that's a long-term position. He's going to be planning for this upcoming transfer window, and usually you're planning for the upcoming transfer window a year and a half ago. Like, you're making a 2-year, 3-year plan at that position. So it's going to take some time to get the wheels turning, and they're in transition right now. I just wish they would have been a little bit more ambitious in this transition period instead of just getting Caleb Porter, who's just a nobody. It's a nothing hire, really.
Yeah.
And so
I guess my question with that, though, so in college football, I think the rule is try to give them 4 years so they can get recruitments in, stuff like that.
Caleb Porter for 4 years. You heard it here first.
No, MLS. What do you think? Like a year, 2 years? If he's still performing at this level in year 2, is that when they say, thanks for your service, goodbye?
I mean, I would hope they're watching match by match and analyzing and saying, is there a cohesive identity from the players? Is there any buy-in? Do the players respect the manager? Is there team unity in that? If he's here for half the season, right? If you're getting close to summer and the players are miserable, they hate the guy, they're telling you, like, we don't like him, you're getting poor results, the fans aren't happy. Like, you look at that and say, lots of contracts are up in plenty other leagues in summer. Just at this point, if you know you're done for the year, may as well just bite the bullet.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, get the next guy 6 months. Get him time to get up and up on his feet.
If there's things going on behind the scenes, and people talk, there'll be rumors, and coaches will be talking to their bosses, and players will be talking as well, and so there'll be questions asked around the front office and the training field. So yeah, there's information to be found out. If Caleb Porter's pissing everybody off, then it's a different story for sure.
Yeah. Gavin, did we have a correspondence corner on New England?
I didn't see one. I'll check again, but
All
I
right.
didn't see one.
Maybe give it one more look. I thought I saw one.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the game at all, or are we not talking about games today? We're just talking about teams.
If you have something specific to call out on some games, we can bring it up. I have more to say from a game standpoint on the reverse side of this fixture from the New York Red Bulls side because, 4 goals for New York Red Bulls. I mean, look, ultimately, I think New England gets some consolation goals, and New York Red Bulls will be kicking themselves a little bit here, where they say, oh, we shouldn't have let them score even a little bit, run up the goal differential. But like, I don't know. I mean, you can only be locked in for so long, and once you get up to a certain lead, I think you're going to switch off a little bit. But the 2 goals are nothing goals to me. Like, the game was over.
Well, I mean, there were. I slightly disagree. There were 3 goals in the last 12 minutes of the game. So the New York Red Bulls goals were late. I was going to highlight just New England just has defensive issues, and New York Red Bulls eventually capitalized on it. I wouldn't say the game was over. I think it was 2-1 at that point, and then it went to 3-1, 4-1, 4-2, or 3-1, 3-2, 4-2. I think it was that way. 3-1, 3-2, 4-2 in the last 12 minutes of the game. So Red Bulls, eventually took advantage of New England Revolution's very, very poor defense.
Right. And potentially about to get even more poor, as Barrero, I believe, was assisted by, hook or by crook, I think with a stretcher even getting off the field. So
upon his return, yep.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Not great. Quite bad. So. All right. Guys, you want to hit on this last one here? It's a good one. It's Chicago. I know we have a lot to say. I know that Tim sent something in here, so while Gavin pulls that up, just quick highlight here. Chicago lost 1-3 to St. Louis. They're sitting on 2 points out of the past 15 potential points. That's 2 draws, 3 losses. Hugo Kuipers did score a goal. I was talking with Tim about the plus 2,200 odds on Hugo Kuipers to score. A Hugo Kuipers anytime goal scorer would have made you money. Great. Still lost 3-1. It's not getting any better. Just final thoughts on that. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't think it can be figured out anymore. I don't think it's a coaching issue. I don't know if it's a player issue. I think it's a whole organizational issue at this point. You can't keep cycling coaches and cycling players and getting all this on paper talent and still keep failing and tell me it's not an organizational issue. So I think that's all I have to say on that. I know Tim wrote like 10 paragraphs though.
Before I start, Wyatt, you got anything you want to add on Chicago?
I was going to say almost the exact same thing. Is this isn't a coaching issue like we've been talking about. There's been issues there for years, and I hate it because I do love that fan base, and I've enjoyed watching them in the past. But I think they might have to just clean house completely and hit the big red reset button and see what happens, type of thing.
Yeah. All right, we'll hit on Tim Holtz. He was on last week. Chicago correspondent. He says the Fire's goalless drought ended just 3 minutes shy of the 7-hour mark when Hugo Kuipers notched his 3rd goal of the season in the 46th minute. That was about as good as it's been for the Fire in the past few weeks. I would say months. Not weeks, Tim, sorry. The team now sits just 3 points ahead of Spoon leading New England, and adding insult to injury, the Revs have a game in hand. The Fire also sport the league's 2nd worst goal differential at -10. Well, you can't score, that makes sense. Following the loss on Saturday, Fire head coach Frank Klopas said it's early in the season, but it's getting late early for the Fire with 2 crucial home matches this week. A failure to get points this week would mean the team would need to average a 58-point pace for the rest of the season just to sneak into the postseason. A pace only 2 teams in MLS managed last year. Damn. 6 points this week, a tall order considering Saturday's matches against Columbus, would see the team back into the thick of things, but it takes far more than 1 goal every 5 games to do that. Can they do it? Can they turn it around?
No.
No?
No.
Even against a struggling Columbus?
I will talk more about Columbus, but I would say no. And I think this is going to be a not great game for Chicago against a Columbus
a get right game for Columbus, probably.
Is winning against Chicago a get right game?
hey, a win's a win when you're not winning.
Fair.
Yeah, and they have 2.5 weeks until their CONCACAF Cup championship. Like they can get some players out there and not worried about them being too tired. So I think they're going to beat up Chicago pretty bad.
Yeah, that's I know I say I have a Chicago sports betting curse, but that is one that I would look at on the weekend. So
is that the weekend or is that midweek?
Midweek.
PSA to everyone listening.
Yeah.
There's Wednesday action.
Yeah, there are Wednesday matches.
Annoyingly
enough. Yeah.
A full slate. So don't miss out. All right. Ready for the next one?
Well, that's it for the nosedive. It's only 3 teams. 3 teams bad enough to be categorized into that. Gavin, I'll let you take a pick if you still remember the topic names. I can reread them if you want.
Let's just go straight up the list.
Okay, all right. We're working backwards. We got the stall warning. Number of different teams here in stall warning, and I've got good thoughts on all of these. So we're going to lead off with Philadelphia. They've got a 3-2 loss to Orlando. Gavin, I'm sure you were thrilled with this result. I want to note, in this loss, Philadelphia had 27 shots. Only 4 of them were on target, but 27 shots. They've got 0 wins in the last 5 matches. They're also at 2 out of 15 possible points. I mean, they've got 7 goals forced, right? Like, they have some attacking cohesiveness, but here's the issue. They have 12 goals allowed, and I went and I did a little bit of research because that felt quite high, and at no point in time last season did they ever have a 5-game stretch where they had a 12 goals allowed across 5 games. That is unbelievable regression from the defense. It's the root of their issues, clearly. But, I mean, I don't know how Philadelphia got to here specifically.
Well, I don't think they've had their starters available all season, right? Like Elliott, he hasn't been playing next to Glesnes.
They're supposed to be this deep team, though, right? Like, they're supposed to have all this youth. Like, that's what they pride themselves on, is always having, like, that next man up mentality.
Yeah, but easier said than done, right? Like, next man up, there's a reason that...
I guess there's a reason, yeah.
Yes.
But still, I'm not sure I fully buy into it for Philadelphia specifically.
The weird thing is they've been doing their thing. They've been pretty good. It's just, I think things are just not falling for them right now. And when, sometimes the things just come in like a landslide, like just bad things after bad things after bad things. I'm sure Wyatt can attest to it with Nashville, just like crazy deflection goes in. Daniel Gazdag has never missed a penalty in MLS. It gets saved today, or on Saturday, and that would have been the equalizer. They had a goal ruled offsides that was very, very close. Like if the ref didn't put his flag up, they would have kept the on-call field, and it would have been a goal. So ref obviously has the best view, but those are the margins really that are going against them in matches like these. And they just got to find a way to get through this rut. And they need someone to really step up and take them over the line. I think at this point, the team's looking for someone to step up. They had 15 minutes of injury time against Orlando. And there wasn't that guy who you thought was going to just take the game by the scruff of the neck and do something crazy and get them an equalizer. It just, their star guy wasn't doing it. And I think that's what they need right now.
So I just watched the highlights on this one. Didn't get to catch the game, but it looked like Philly was controlling the game a lot. And I just looked up stats. They had a 3.85 XG to Orlando's 1.25. Now I'm not all XG, like all in, but I do think it says something about.
There is some context there.
Yeah, like how much pressure they're putting on the defense. And like you said, like Gazdag never missed a penalty type of thing. I struggle with Philly because I don't like them. But it's because anytime that Nashville plays them, it's really boring because we're both such defensive teams. We just sit back. But the coach is good. They do have talent. They have some young talent they can throw on. I know a lot of people hate our roster rules, but having less talent does kind of make it more intriguing sometimes of the type of people teams just throw on the field because they don't have anybody else. You know, we've called up people from Huntsville FC because we had injuries. And I think we'll still see Philly make a pretty decent run, unfortunately.
I think they'll turn around, yeah. I agree with you. I can't stand Philadelphia, honestly.
All the teams in Philly.
Yeah, the Union. They just piss me off.
But you heard it here first. Gavin is anti-union.
I am anti-Philly Union for sure. But with the XG, they got 2 penalties in this match. One of them was the one that was missed, thankfully, was pretty soft, actually, in my opinion, from the ref. A pretty soft call. But so that's, what, 1.8, 1.9? I don't remember what they categorized
1.5.
Is it?
It's 0.75 XG is a penalty.
Okay, so penalty 1.75. And then on the save, Gazdag gets a point-blank shot straight on goal. And so that probably escalated it to like 2 XG from 2 penalties.
Yeah.
And so there is some context there into why it's so inflated like that. But yeah, they probably should have had 3 goals in this match, all things considered. And Orlando scored, Muriel scored the banger. That was probably like a 0.1 XG, if that.
That was a banger, though.
Yeah. So that's all I've got on Philly.
All right. I'm going to take us on to Wyatt's second favorite team, which is Atlanta. They suffered a 2-3 loss to DC United to a Christian Benteke hat trick. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was Benteke is like 2 times the number of won aerial duels over second place in MLS. He's in triple digits. We're 10 matches into the season for DC, or like 11 matches. He's well into it. He's like 120 something aerial duels won. It's unbelievable. But yeah, hot take, not a hot take. Pineda makes players worse than the sum of their parts. Just I don't know what else to say for Atlanta at this point in time. They're 2 points from 15 possible over the last 5 matches. 6 goals forced, 9 goals allowed. Hashtag nice. But they don't look like they're going to do anything. Like, if Yakumakis isn't scoring, where is any other threat coming from? Almada's been... he was decent in this game, but he's been relatively anonymous for large parts of the season. Is it coming from their wingbacks? No. Is it coming from their midfield? Not if it's not Almada. If it's not Yakumakis, then there's not anything there. And I don't think that is successful or sustainable coaching. So
I wanted to double check before I said it and sounded dumb, but their 2 goals were from a penalty and then an own goal. So they didn't have a goal in open play. And I think that's been their struggle this year as well. They did steal Dax McCarty from us, so I don't like them. I will be in Atlanta tomorrow, though, so I might try to see them. Atlanta's a weird one because I felt like they picked up a lot of momentum last year. Almada was just making banger after banger. They had some momentum, and then they kind of just fell off a little. And it could be coaching. I'm going to be honest. I don't keep up with that coach as much, but there is something there that they have some good talent. It's just not clicking.
Yeah, to me, I point to the coach because I think they have good players. We've seen the players be good. Even like Moyomba, when he came into the league last season, he was lighting up the league in defensive midfield. And now he's not the same player. Like, okay, maybe it's just maybe he's carrying an injury, or maybe it's just early season. He's trying to get warmed up into the season, but like he just doesn't look the same. Same with Saba. Same with when he was available. I think he's injured right now. Xande Silva. I mean, it's just offensively they're struggling to score. Defensively they're struggling to keep the ball at the back of their net. I mean, Benteke, everyone knows what he's going to do. I say it every week. Superpower, right? DC are taking advantage of his superpower, heading ability. How does he score a hat trick of headers against you? Like, somebody put a body on him. Somebody be physical with him. And it's just,
coaching.
It is coaching. Like, that is coaching to where you say, Benteke is good in the air. Track him wherever he goes. Do not let him cut in front of you. Do not let him jump on your back. Like, be beside him, be goal side, throw him off his rhythm in the air, make it as hard as possible for him. Instead, the players just, goal. Just watched him score 3 headers in the game. It's just really poor defending, and it didn't even look like they tried to nullify his threat. And usually if you score 2 goals at home, you're thinking you're going to win the game, but if you can't keep it out of your net, then that's a problem.
And I think just because I play around on Twitter too much, a lot of blame gets put on Guzan. I think he's a silly little man that I like to yell at when he's in Nashville. But I just checked; he's had 46 shots towards him on target this season. So
on target?
That's what it says right here.
Oh my gosh! Dang.
So how do you blame a goalie whose back line is letting those shots off, right? So again, not a big fan. Don't think he's top 10 goalies in the league, but let's not put blame on a guy who is just getting massacred because his back line can't step up and defend people.
That's an amazing stat. Gavin, I think Bryce had a very short correspondence corner for this one, if I recall correctly.
Oh gosh, did I miss
No,
it? I must have missed it.
I think he just agreed with the GIF I sent that said pain.
Yeah, that is where we are. But I'm going to move us on to get us away from Atlanta. This is a weird one. I promise you guys, it's going to make sense to put them in here. Dallas with a 2-1 win over Austin. I'm still putting in a stall warning. They might be pulling out of the stall a little bit. They're on 7 points from 15, but prior to that, 1 point from 5 matches. They are, they're beating Austin, who are a streaky team. They're not amazing. And yet they looked not the better team than Austin in terms of shot creation, in terms of attacking ideas. It's not isolated to just this game. Their results are, I don't want to say lucky, but I will say that their results play on the margins and that it's not going to be something you can keep up for a full season.
I agree with that. The main thing for me with this team is they've got to get their key players healthy. They've got to. I mean, I agree that this one they kind of fluked a little bit. This win, maybe not fluke, but just
the margins went their way.
Yeah,
and a 4-minute goal does help. It changes how the next 86 minutes are going to play.
Yeah, for sure. But you gotta get Ferreira fit. You've got to get Velasco fit. I know Velasco had surgery, so it's taken a while. Areola's in and out. This season he's been a little bit more consistent. But even guys like Pomacole, why are you relying on Pomacole still? He's shown us since 4 years ago that he can't stay fit. So yes, he's a good player, but use him as a sub. Rely on him as a sub. Don't rely on him as your starting midfielder. And that's what they've done. And it's come back to bite them. So better squad planning for me on Dallas. And yeah, they're playing on the margins right now. So it's hard to look at individual results and say, oh, they're heading in the right direction, or oh, they're going backwards.
Wyatt, you want to throw anything else in there? Dallas they're in a weird spot right now.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of this particular game, but they're usually. I love Jesus. I, they're usually really fun to watch, even though they weren't always the most winningest team. They were always pretty quick pace, stuff like that. And I don't. There's been a lot of now that we're maybe because we started with the bad. I don't know, but there's been a lot of fall offs of teams.
We did start. We're going from worst to first.
But I posted something or tweeted something the other day where someone flipped the table, and it was very identical to what it was like this time last year or 2 years ago. Like we compared it, and it really does seem like the table has flipped. Other than Chicago, they stay at the bottom. Sorry, Chicago. But it really, like, the teams that were doing well have seemed to fall off, and the teams that weren't doing well seem to get Messi and Busquets, and it is what it is.
It is what it is. Conveniently, I put the reverse side of this fixture also in the stall warning with Austin, with stop me if you heard this before, a 2-1 loss to Dallas. Also, interestingly enough, on 7 points out of the last 15 available, getting weird mixed results against teams that they might not have any right to do so. But here's a stat that jumps out to me. Sebastian Driussi has played 450 minutes, so basically the full 90 in the past 5 matches, and yet has 1 goal. And that goal that he scored was a penalty kick.
All I've got really on Austin is they started off the game well. Funnily enough, like they conceded, but they were killing Dallas's right side of Boston's left. I mean, there was that moment where the ref played advantage, where they were in behind. And if the ref didn't play advantage, that probably turns into a goal or at least a dangerous scenario. And instead, it turns into a yellow card and a free kick outside the box. And then, I mean, Austin got in behind a couple more times. I think they hit the post from that side. They got a couple of dangerous back post crosses on that side. So, like, Austin really identified a weakness in Dallas's defense and attacked it and attacked it and attacked it. And my worry, my concern with Austin just in this match in particular is that if you identify that kind of weakness, like, how did you not score? Like, maybe that's just the variance, but like, if you identified that weakness, there should have been some sort of game plan where, okay, a player's going to wait until the very last second and then dart into the penalty spot, or there's going to be a player on the back post every single time you get into this position because that's the weakness. And it just felt like once they got into that position, it didn't look like they really knew what they needed to do with the ball. And that's where I was like, did you guys just stumble upon this? and you guys just happened to figure that out? Because it looked like it was a plan. So that's my only concern with Austin is in the killer moment, they didn't have the killer mentality.
And they haven't for large portions of the season.
Yep.
So, Wyatt?
I don't know how many Austin fans you have, but I said Driussi was a fraud 2 years ago when he was up for running MVP with Hani Mukhtar. But if I didn't hear Gavin say Austin at the beginning of his commentary, I would have thought he was talking about Nashville. I would have thought he was talking about Philly. A lot of different MLS teams right now who build it up, and then when they get in that final third, they're like, what do I do with this again? It's a very common theme that I think we've seen for years from different teams, as going back to roster rules, having 3 DP players, usually a midfielder and a striker. If they're not on the field, the other guys just seem to be lost a little. And we see that a lot in Austin right now.
The issue is that Sebastian Driussi is on the field.
But he's a fraud again. Sorry, Austin fans.
I mean, yeah, they're relying on Driussi. You know, he's decent. You know, he's definitely fallen off. But like your strike partnership of Diego Rubio and Yossi Zardes, like either of those guys could start on any given day. And it's that old adage: if you have if you have 2 quarterbacks or if you have 2 goalkeepers, you have 0. It's like here, if you have 2 strikers, you have 0 because neither of them are good enough. Rigoni has been a complete flop for them. They're not getting help from guys like Ethan Finley as much anymore, or Owen Wolf or Denny Pereira, and so it's just not been great for them, unfortunately.
No. Well, we're
But
going to continue.
They're in better form. You know, they did lose, but they went through a 5-game spell where they were doing pretty good recently. So we'll see.
I don't think that is them turning the point, though. I think that's them slowing the stall but not stopping it. So
okay, we'll see.
We're continuing with the stalls, though. Portland, which is really bordering on going into a full-on nosedive. Fun fact: the last time that Portland won, Gavin, was that time that they won both of us money against NYCFC in March, 10 matches ago. That was their last win.
Every time you say that, that just surprises me, because like I keep thinking Portland are doing okay. They're doing okay. And they're just not winning games.
Yeah, they're not. They might be doing okay at a lot of things, but they're not doing well is the problem. And this one they created, they weren't even okay at creating. I mean, it was like their XG, their shot creating actions, like just the offense in general just did not look competent. And I recognize Evander didn't start, right? He wasn't available, didn't play the full 90. So, you know, in the small amount of time that Evander was there, he was their most prolific offensive creator. So does that change the match, though? I don't know. Like, that's the problem, is on any given day, I have no idea how Portland is going to play. But honestly, like, I would guess that they might still lose this match based on recent form, even if the team is fully healthy. And that's, I don't know how it gets better from here, because like they're scoring goals. They're just also giving up more goals than they're scoring, which is prodigious in nature. So,
yeah, Phil Neville's definitely leaning into his attack, and attacking wise, it's working. It's just defensively, they're all over the place. Starting guys like Eric Miller. Wyatt, I know you'll like that one.
He's been everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't help. You know, you get 2-2 against LAFC, Diego Char gets a red card. Like, stuff like that goes against you. Like, you know, is Williamson injured again? No, Williamson's still available. Never mind. But I don't know. It's just the tactics aren't working. The defensive quality of player isn't working, and I think those two aren't meshing real well. I think the defenders are just being left isolated a little bit too much, which is so odd to say of a Portland team, right? Because for so long they were just bunker and counter.
How long has Phil been there?
This season.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, again, their attack has been pretty clean. You know, they at least are attacking. And maybe that's something that he's just planning on working on is building that defensive play. So what, 12 games in? I don't know. I think stalling is a good category for him, because I could see them picking up speed again. But yeah, they're not the Portland we saw a few years ago at all.
I think the concerns about Phil Neville are slowly coming to fruition, though. So, well, we'll see. TBD. I know Portland's making Wyatt yawn, so we're going to move on to something far more exciting, which was Montreal jumping out to an early lead, only to lose 3-2 to Miami. Like, Montreal are stalling, and yet they're showing signs of life. You have guys like Bryce Duke. You have, you know, this pretty young overall contingent of the team, right? Like, I looked at the ages of this team, and it's like anywhere from 20 to 29, but it's heavily weighted on that like 20 to 22 area. Like, that is exciting for the future of Montreal. It's not great for the present, mind you, but like it should give you optimism going forward. The problem is they have one win in their last 5 matches, and they've scored 7 goals, they've given up 10. They're having matches where they're in it, right? Like Gary Smith could use his excuse of, that should have been a 0-0 game, or that should have been a 1-1 game. Like, they are in it, they're close, and yet the lack of quality to finish their chances is, I think, what's biting them right now. If they can figure that out, they can pull out of the stall right now, because like it's there, right? Other teams are capitalizing on the chances because they're staying competitive. They don't have that quality right now.
I think they were up for this match. They were
very up for it. They went up 2-0.
Yeah, they were doing well. Start off well. I think it's Rojas's free kick. I think that's a key moment, a sliding doors moment in this match, and potentially in Montreal's season. I mean, imagine if Montreal go on to finish the half 2-0. Like, they probably go on to maybe not win the game. Maybe Miami do the magical thing and come back and make it 2-2. But I don't think they make it 3-2 if they go into half. It was a pretty close second half, all things considered. So I think that's a sliding doors moment, and I think they just psychologically took a blow because they really did nothing wrong, and it was just Miami's like quality.
Unbelievable free kick,
and all of a sudden you're like, are you kidding me? Like, we've done everything right. We locked down Messi. Like,
yeah, apparently not when you see Rojas's free kick. I mean,
what more do we need to do? And then Rojas does that. It's like, oh,
yeah.
So that one hurt. Then of course, Duke for some reason flicks on the ball to the back post perfectly for, I think it was Suarez who gets that goal, and all of your great work is undone in a matter of minutes right before halftime. Just the worst time. So for this match specifically, like, I think the psychological battle, the way everything panned out was really hard for Montreal. On the season, I think stalling's a good way to put it. The wins that they do have are kind of like fluky, marginal wins, and a lot of draws, and just nothing too impressive this season thus far.
I agree with Russell on they got to finish their chances. I know.
Someone agrees with me? Oh my gosh, I'm stunned.
Thinking
first
back
time ever
to last week, and then the highlights I saw with this game is, I think it was 2 or 3 times against Nashville they had a one-on-one with their goalkeeper and either missed the goal, which we got lucky, or Joe Willis was able to save it because it was basically kicked to him. And then they just had other plays that opened up and they just missed. So they seem to have a good game plan going. They seem to move the ball well. It's just they can't get it in the net, which is probably the most important part, I guess, in the game. But I agree. I think stalling is a good place for them, as they could nosedive here soon, or they can start taking off.
Last thing I'll say is one of my favorite young players, up and coming, Jules Anthony Vilsant, plays for them, and if he can stay fit, I think he's going to continue to grow and be a really good player for them in this league. He got a goal and assist in this match, so I wanted to give him some praise.
Right. Use Coach Joe's least favorite phrase. Give him his flowers.
Give him his flowers. Right.
That's right. All right. I'm going to take us to category number 3, cruising altitude. Teams that, I don't think they're stalling. They're not climbing. They're there. They're moving along. They're doing their thing. Their flight is just is, right? It's just fine. So we're going to lead us off with actually Columbus with a 1-2 loss to FC Cincinnati. 4 points from the last 15 possible. It's 4 draws out of 5 matches. The loss to Cincinnati is the only non-draw they've had in the last 5. I'm still not worried about this team. I wholeheartedly believe the mind space is not on the league right now. They're thinking about CONCACAF Champions Cup, and you can argue all day until those Cows that we talked about earlier in the episode come home You can talk about how like they've got 3 weeks until the match, or they've got, all this time and they should be focusing on the league. They, I don't think, care. Right now, it's staying healthy. It's being ready. They want to lift the trophy. That's it.
The biggest thing you said there is what I was thinking earlier when we touched on Columbus. Staying healthy. Like every single one of those players will want to be available for the final. So unfortunately, they're not going to go heavy into every single challenge. I don't know if you noticed that, Russell, in the rivalry match this weekend or not, but they may have been pulling out or may not have been fully going into every single challenge. Maybe it wasn't as big of a physical battle. Maybe it was. I didn't really catch the game, unfortunately. But you're right. I think they're trying to stay healthy and they're focusing on CONCACAF Champions Cup final.
Yeah.
And I hate saying this more than anything I've said so far, but Cincinnati's a good team. Like, I know. I got heartburn.
Gosh, I got someone agreed with me and said I was right, and then said that Cincinnati's a good team.
I saw a lot of people, and I'm sure they're Cincinnati fans, talking about the downfall of Columbus now, and I'm like, y'all, if they lost to Nashville, I'd be like, okay, maybe you're right. That wasn't great, but they are focused on bigger things. And then Cincinnati's a good team. Like it's not someone they can go in and give 75% against and pull out a win. Like I think they were I think they would have been happy with a draw, as like Gavin said. They were pulling out some tackles. They were making sure that they stayed healthy more than anything.
Yeah. And I don't think the substitutions from Wilfried Nancy were geared towards chasing and trying to win this game. You can say, all day, like, oh, Noonan outcoached Nancy. The substitutions were totally unexpected. Yes, the substitutions I think were better than what Nancy put out there. However, I'm not convinced that those substitutions were made trying to chase the game so much as it is they're trying to give themselves maybe a chance to stay in it, not get further behind, maybe hit on the counter. Like you said, Wyatt, play for that tie, but mainly stay healthy, focus on Champions Cup. So the win feels good for Cincinnati, yes, but for Columbus, I don't think there's too much to read into this. They're not focused on the league right now, for better or worse. They're going to have something to dig themselves out of come summer. Like once CONCACAF is done, like they're going to have a climb. But again, I mean, you only need to get to 9th to make the playoffs.
And I think they're in 8th right now, even with the performances. So, I mean, not much climbing needed.
Yeah. Like realistically, they're still probably going to compete for the top 4 slot for like a guaranteed, home side of the playoffs, which is insane to me. I mean, the East is in such this weird non-winning mode right now. It's weird. Do either of you have anything before I move us on to St. Louis?
Nope.
All right. St. Louis, 3-1 win over Chicago. Finally getting a win. St. Louis with, I think, the most draws in MLS. So, now, granted, disclaimer, it is Chicago. Yes. Supposedly called the Derby Q, which actually pretty decent name, I think, or is Derby Q for SKC versus St. Louis? I remember they billed this one as a rivalry week match.
I honestly don't know.
Hey, if you're a St. Louis fan and you're listening to us right now, and or if you're listening to us later, reach out to us on social media at MLS Now Podcast to let us know which team is the Derby Q. Gavin's over there Googling it, taking all the fun out of it. So,
sorry, what do you anything yet?
Okay, good, excellent. St. Louis, come save us. Wyatt, thoughts, comments, concerns. Please save all Marco Reus conversation for last, please. And do you think that would be a good signing to end that question?
So before any St. Louis fans get mad, I really like St. Louis City. It's one of those stadiums I really want to visit in the next 2 years. Their fans seem great. I was surprised they weren't in the stalling category, to be honest, as they kind of look flat a lot. Like they're trying to figure out what to do, but they're not doing bad, right? But they're just trying to figure it out. I do love Chicago too. I'm not being mean, but it's Chicago. It's like when we beat Montreal, I told a lot of people, hey, like, let's not get our hopes up. We had a good game, but this doesn't mean we're going to go on a huge run. Like, there's still issues that need to be resolved. And I think that's the same for St. Louis.
Yeah. I mean, St. Louis are sitting at 1.45 points per game right now. Like, they're sitting at 16 points from 11 matches. It's a respectable record. Like, historically, 1.4 was your playoff line. So they're, even if they are trying to figure themselves out right now. And Gavin, you and I have talked about this a lot, that I think there is a shift going on in the way that they play to make it more sustainable. So they're not burning themselves out through the whole season, because they got to the playoffs last year and they just looked done. Like it was the spirit is willing, but the body is not. And they need to get to the playoffs this year, and they need both the spirit and the body to be willing. And I think they're doing a much better job of preserving player health and preserving their hopes for having longevity into the postseason.
Thus far, yeah, absolutely. Darby Q is with SKC.
Okay.
Sorry,
I can't believe you ruined all of our fun.
I ruined it. Yeah, not bad.
Gavin hates fun, confirmed.
We do have a correspondence corner on St. Louis from Tyler. So he says, if the city that arrived to City Park Saturday can continue to show up for every game, not just the ones that are at bare minimum manufactured to mean something extra, the team will have finally found its momentum. I shouldn't be too cynical commenting on a team that's now gone 5 unbeaten, but please forgive me if I'm a little apprehensive considering the prior 4 were draws. Putting that aside, Klaus earned every bit of his Man of the Match award. Klaus is on the thumbnail today. I thought he had a great performance. Chicago saw a beautiful, and I would imagine terrifying, fusion of his creator self and finisher self. Kyle Hebert put in his best stint ever in a City uniform, at this point screaming to the world he should never again be placed at the wing. And Celio Pompeu, what a player. In absence of Edward Loven, this team has seriously struggled on the attack. At least for one night, we saw a path forward. Is it a sign that the engine is finally turned over? Not quite yet in my book, but the potential is undoubtedly there. And then he ends off with, P.S. Anyone know anything about this Marco Royce fella?
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Right.
No.
So yeah, I think that sums it up.
Do you want to ruin the fun on Marco as well? Do you want to go Google who that is, Gavin?
I know who Marco Royce is. Been watching him all my life.
Okay. Gavin, do you have anything to add in before I move us on again? Because we've got a ton of teams in this category.
No, let's keep it moving.
All right. We are going to the other half of the Derby queue that was not the actual match this week, but Sporting Kansas City in a 2-1 loss to Houston. I put them in cruising. They're bordering on a stall for me. I will say that. They are bordering on a stall. I just the identity's there. The results are not. I'm not sure if I'm super worried about them though. I don't know what it is, right? They've lost to RSL. RSL's a really good team. They've lost to Minnesota. Minnesota's a really good team. They got a draw against St. Louis. St. Louis is a pretty solid team. They lost to Miami. Everyone's losing to Miami. They drew Portland with 3 goals, and it's okay, where's the wins coming from? Well, earlier in the season, they beat Toronto when Toronto were on their tear of going undefeated. Lost to an extremely strong LA Galaxy again earlier in the season, beat San Jose, which is, okay, it's San Jose. They drew Philly earlier in the season before the defensive frailties had set in. There's so much context to all these matches that they've played and when they've played them that I'm just are they actually a bad team, or are they playing teams that right at the time you wouldn't want to play them? And I think that's where I'm falling down on right now. It's now they have coming up Austin, and they've got Portland and Vancouver, and Portland are struggling. Austin are kind of stalling. Vancouver are in this weird streaky phase right now, and we'll talk about them in like literally 2 teams for teams in this category. Like, these are the matches where I'm like, if they lose these, I think they're stalling, flatlining, going down the tube. If they win them, then I think that the context bears out, and it's, hey, they played a bunch of teams that were at the moment extremely good, and some of them are still extremely good and have been good all season, i.e. Miami and Galaxy. So I'm not ready to jump to conclusions either way yet. And I think this is the only team that I'm actually sitting in this spot on, despite them having quite poor form and sitting so low on the table.
Yeah, I think this is one of those teams where it's a good time to bring up that we're a third into the season and a lot can happen. I'm scared now that I think about it that someone's going to replay this podcast to me at the end of the season and just show how wrong I was about some teams. But I think there's a lot to see from teams. Because again, anybody can turn it around. But yeah, I agree with what you have said completely. Again, is that why you had me on the podcast, to agree with you?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not getting any of that from Gavin. So like, I needed to bring on Wyatt. I went through my Rolodex and I was like, who has historically agreed to me? I went to my spreadsheets. I got agreements per minute, and I was like, Wyatt is overperforming this stat. Yeah. Bring him in.
I got to fix that, but. Yeah, I agree with what you say, but for those listening, we do realize we're only a third into the season, and a lot more can happen, especially with transfers coming.
I don't know, Russell. SKC are not in great form right now.
They're not in great form. Again, I acknowledge that, and I think contextually, a lot of these matches came against teams that were in the moment extremely hot.
And Houston haven't been hot recently.
Well, I mean,
I get
they've not been. Yeah, they've not been.
But also, Houston did just get
Hector Herrera
back, and he scores a beautiful goal in this one.
Mm-hmm. He does a lot of things for Houston, with
different
and without.
Team.
Yeah, again, it's just context to this match.
Yeah. So I'll do the correspondence corner to keep us moving here. From SKC Spins from Travis. He says, midweek, after 120 minutes of largely uninspired soccer, Alan Pulido secured the victory for SKC against Union Omaha in the Open Cup. While not ideal, this is slightly better than Houston's midweek Open Cup loss, which was, some of the fallout from that has been comical, to say the least. Setting up a true showdown of Titans. On the weekend, Sporting Kansas City continued their unimpressive streak and lost 2-1. On Houston's first goal, we lined up in a strange defensive formation on a set piece, leaving many players unmarked. Alan Pulido was slow to cover down, and with time and space, Hector Herrera scored. On the second goal against us, Jake Davis started deep into the offensive half. When it was clear Houston was going to break, Johnny Russell did nothing to help cover for his teammate, and Davis was late getting back. Daniel Shalhoub's first goal of the season was good, but not enough. Johnny Russell and Alan Pulido have aged out of their prior quality, were toothless on set pieces without Danny Rosero. Despite having fielded only 2 winning teams over the last 5.5 years, Peter Vermes seems as comfortable as ever in his seat, all while he threatens the players he chose with a rough week of pain in practice. I'll say on Houston's game-winning goal, way too easy. Way too easy. Houston just literally walked the ball to the edge of the final third, and then it's a simple through ball behind to, I think it was Aliu who ran onto it, and just slots it home. It was way too easy. Just go and watch that goal back. So yeah, just poor from SKC. Very poor recently. And good thoughts from Travis. I'll add that as well.
Yeah. All right, I'm moving us on. We're going to go to Colorado, who had a 2-3 loss to San Jose. I honestly, this is going to sound super lazy. I don't think Colorado did anything wrong so much as San Jose are this weird team that either scores 3 goals or scores 0 goals. And I'm looking back and it's beat San Jose 3-2. They beat LAFC 3-1, and then they drew Nashville 1-1, and then they scored 3 goals against LA Galaxy but lost 4-3, and then they scored 0 goals and lost 3, and then they scored 3 goals and lost 4-3. And it's like their offense either completely blows the doors off or doesn't. And I am not worried about this for Colorado because, again, on the reverse side of this picture, they won it 3-0 away in San Jose, and then they lost at home 2-3. So I think this is just one of those weird matches where it's like they hit a San Jose who is firing on all cylinders, and they've shown they can score against literally anyone. So I'm kind of combining this with my next piece, which is also San Jose winning 3-2 over Colorado, also in this category. So
this one just felt to me similar to the Montreal Miami match. It's 2-0, and then right before halftime, 2 quick goals to make it 2-2 from San Jose. And I think, again, that psychologically messed with Colorado. And, San Jose kept it close, got the winner in the 66th minute, and then just wrote out the rest of the game. I think it's another one of those psychological things.
The script writers had to just reuse another script is all.
Basically.
We had a lot of 3-2s this weekend.
Yeah.
Tons of them.
I will say in this game in particular, watching the highlights again, it looked like Colorado was the better team, the more put together team. But like you said, San Jose will just come to some games and just have an amazing offense that they don't always have. It's very inconsistent, which I guess is leading into San Jose here in a second. But they can hit some bangers and they can make some good plays. But mostly, I think Colorado looked like the better team. And I guess going back to the other 2-3 game we talked about is it's demoralizing to have 2 goals at the end of a half and to have to walk into your locker room with that. So,
yeah, I think we've adequately kind of hit both these teams, and they sit right next to each other. So I'm just going to move us on to another match entirely, talking about Vancouver, who lost 3-0 to LAFC. And again, I come down on they need to figure out their finishing. Like that's all it is. Vancouver has weeks where they create all these chances, and then it's either Brian White and Ryan Gauld score, or they don't, and then they lose. And like that's it, right? Like the whole thing with Vancouver is like, if these 2 guys are on, you're gonna win, and if they're not on, you're not gonna win. This is one they weren't on.
I think some of it was the finish. I mean, more the chance creation. Like, I don't think they created great chances against LAFC. I think LAFC defended pretty decently, and there was just so much space between the attack and the defense, and it was too wide from Vancouver, and LAFC were able to kind of pass around their midfielders, and there was just a little bit too much isolation. And so I didn't like the way they set up against LAFC. I mean, they conceded 3 very similar goals, all cutbacks from Denny Bouanga. He gets 3 assists on the night, and just, man, oh man, just happens from Oliveira, and I think Bogusz as well. So, yeah, finishing for sure long term, that's what we got to look at. But in this match in particular, the way they set up was just way too much in the attack, too much in the attacking third, and the defense too deep in their own third. And when you only have 2 midfielders, they're going to get passed around.
Yeah. Midfield is such a weird balance in MLS, just in general. And side note, as you won't likely hear his voice for the rest of the episode, Wyatt had to hop off. So we do want to thank Wyatt for joining us while he was able. Remember, you can find him on social media at Super Duper Wyatt. We always appreciate him coming on. Gavin, I agree with your statement. And fortunately, Wyatt's not here to hear me agreeing with you. So that's excellent news. Long term, I'm not worried about Vancouver, just for the record.
Well, okay, yeah, they're going to be fine during the
Right.
season. I don't think they're going to be
They're
cup
not going to win. Yeah.
contenders
No,
or shield contenders, but they'll be in the top 4 to 5.
I would say top 4. I think they'll be top 4. I think
Okay.
they'll get the home advantage. I agree with you though. In their current iteration, I don't think that they have the defensive chops to win a championship. Like that common phrase, defense wins championships. So
Yeah. I feel like I can see a little bit of a fall off. Maybe a little bit of a fall off coming.
potentially. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Hey, we're going to move on. We're going to go to LA Galaxy. I had them kind of waffling between a number of different categories, and I think I'm just keeping them at this cruising altitude because they haven't done anything that really changes my mind about them. I think they're cruising at like 40,000 feet. Like they're completely fine. They're head and shoulders above a bunch of other teams. A great, comeback draw to RSL. The door was almost all the way shut, but left cracked open by RSL, which is a mistake by RSL's part. I mean, the Galaxy had some scoring threats and creativity back on the field. RSL just basically fails to kill things off. I think they really let their foot off the gas in this one. And I don't know if maybe you chalk that up to coaching, if you say that the second half plan was inadequate, whatever your stance on this was. Yeah, Galaxy had no business coming back into this match. They did. Good for Galaxy. It's a draw that feels like a win. For RSL, it's a draw that feels like a loss.
Yeah, this one's hard because I think Galaxy actually played quite well in the first half and probably should have been leading. And then they found themselves 2-0 down. I mean, they had a couple of golden opportunities that they didn't take advantage of. And, after that, second half comes around and Galaxy are pushing. They get the goal. It's pretty early in the second half, and you're thinking, okay, here we go. They're gonna get it back to 2-2. And they just never did. They never did. And it's like, oh my gosh, Galaxy are gonna find a way to lose this game.
And then they didn't.
And then they didn't. Ricky Pooch fires a ball in an awkward position, and Miguel
He does
Berry
the Ricky Pooch thing.
Flings his little foot at it.
Yeah.
Right at the death.
I hate that Miguel Berry scored that because we
Why?
dumped all over Miguel Berry like last week and the week before and the week before that.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah.
Poor us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm happy for the dude. Makes
right. Yeah. Look, I will never. Yeah, I will never be upset for him. I'm just upset that it was him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So.
That makes sense. So, yeah,
that was his first goal for the Galaxy, by the way, in the league.
It's his first goal in quite a while. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think he scored one last season with Atlanta.
Hey, did we have any correspondent corners on either of these teams?
Are we covering RSL too?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have a correspondent corner on either.
Okay.
We don't even have a Galaxy correspondent, so.
Hey, if you're a fan, yeah, and you want to be a correspondent, be here on the pod, chat soccer with a bunch of folks. Find us on social media at MLS Now Podcast.
McMath.
Zach McMath, good goalkeeper.
Not in this game.
I didn't say he's a good goalkeeper in this game. I just said he's a good goalkeeper.
Okay. Just the first goal goes right through him. It just hits off his hand, goes in. It's not great goalkeeping. Second one, he's standing there waiting for the ball. It's a awkward position to be in. The ball's not flung in. It's kind of bouncing slowly to him, kind of hangs in the air and in slow motion. And then Barry just, like I said, pokes at it. But you want to see a little bit better from him in that position, I think. So,
yeah,
just wanted to call him out.
There were some really interesting goals that like goalkeepers were left looking foolish just on the weekend in general. I think Drake Callender actually had one as well for Miami. I think one of the Montreal goals was like right between his legs. And it was just like, legs completely spread apart, like wide-eyed, hands flailing. And I was just like, oh man, that's a bad look. So happens to everyone, it seems. All right. Last team for this category, Seattle, with a 2-1 win over the Timbers. It's 3 results in a row, 7 points from the last 15. Here's one of my issues. They've got 1 clean sheet in the last 5 matches, and that was against the Galaxy when they were missing Puig and Joveljic. And I don't think that is a particularly impressive feat to get a clean sheet against a team missing that caliber of player that makes all the rest of their offensive work kind of hum. So not and they didn't even score in that. That was a 0-0 draw in that one. So like have they pulled kind of out of the stall? Maybe short term. I have real concerns again long term. I mean, Rui Diaz is not your answer for 20 more matches in this season, if you ask me. Morris is not your answer. Roldan's not your answer. He scored the winner, but
I think this weekend it was a big win for Seattle.
I agree with you.
Against a not great Portland, but at the end of the day, it's the rivalry. You say
you want to go win it.
Yep. You got to go win it. They won it away from home. That's a hard thing to do in this league, and so they did it. Well done. I don't have much else to say other than like on this match, like in terms of where Seattle's at right now, they're just in an odd place. They're just in an odd place for me as a team. They're three games in a row that they finally kind of got back to form, win, draw, win. And I guess I would just want to see a little bit more. Are we going to start to see the Seattle we're used to, or are we going to go back to the Seattle that we're used to from earlier this season? And so that's the holding pattern I feel I'm in right now with them, just to make a judgment on who they are this season.
I think this stretch of 5 matches where it's like 7 points from 15, I think that's probably what we would expect to see just on average from them for the rest of the season. I think they're going to get some wins. They're going to get some draws. They're going to get some losses. They're going to be completely fine, mid-table-ish. But they're not going to win MLS Cup. They're not going to get a home playoff spot. They're probably going to bow out in the first round. They're not going to go, climb the power rankings. I think they're just going to exist for this season.
Okay. I could see that for sure.
Yeah. All right, Gavin, I'm flipping our last 2 categories because, cleared for takeoff, I want to hit next before we go to full throttle ahead.
Yep.
So cleared for takeoff, we're hitting off with Orlando. Gavin, you want to wax lyrical about a 3-2 win? Orlando making me look foolish, taking the under on 1.5 goals.
I'm surprised you had them so high on cleared for takeoff, but the Cincinnati match, I think unlocked a new tactic for Oscar Pareja, and he seems to do this where he'll stumble around until he finds something that works when he's struggling. He did it last season as well. And last season it was inverting our right back, Dagger Donther Hulsen, who wasn't even a right back at the time. He just put a midfielder at right back and then inverted him. And that's what he did for like the rest of the season because it worked so well. This season, maybe it's this, maybe it's not, but this worked really well against Philadelphia and against Cincinnati. Is in defense, we have our normal set defense 4 at the back structure. But in attack, our left center back will also play left back. He'll play those 2 positions at the same time. He will cover that space, and we will release our left back forward to go be another attacker. Essentially, we started Facundo Torres at left back in this match. That's where he played the majority of this match. Defensively, he was in left back spaces. Offensively, he was in left wing spaces. And that kind of allowed him to be a little bit more free in the attack. And so that was really interesting to see because we did that out of necessity against Cincinnati while down to 10 men, and it worked. And I think he tried it again, 11v11, where we would have an extra attacker, and it worked. And we were finally able to get Luis Muriel into a 2-striker system. We've been trying to get him to work all season. He hasn't worked. We get him into a 2-striker system. He gets 2 goals. He's been in a 2-striker system. He's succeeded in a 2-striker system his whole career. So he does that. Duncan McGuire does Duncan McGuire things. Nico Ladero gets 3 assists. We're all sitting pretty. We hold on at the end. The only downside, of course, is the Robin Janssen injury. He got stretchered off, looking like it's an ankle issue. Hopefully, just rolled it. But there were some positive quotes out of the team this week that it's a lot better than they initially feared. So probably just a rolled ankle, and it just hurt real bad on the day. But yeah, he was stretchered off. So far, it's gonna be interesting to see. Is this tactic going to work long term, or is this just a 1 or 2 game thing where next game against Miami we try it again and it's a dumpster fire? I don't know.
We'll see. I think there are good positive signs from their last 2 matches. They're sitting in a respectable 7 points out of 15. Again, it's normally that would be mid-table, but I think the actual nuance of the matches themselves tells me that maybe there's a good new look for them going forward. There's some optimism. So, Gavin, that's why I put them in here. And it sounds like maybe you actually agree with me that they belong here.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. We'll see what happens. But
we will see.
Hopefully we kick off the rest of the season.
You know, it's a shame that Wyatt is not here for this one because we're going to talk about Charlotte, who had that 1-0 win over Nashville. They're sitting at 9 points out of the last 15. Capetti, gone. Swiderski, gone. So, tons of players leaving. Dean Smith is coaching seemingly now a team instead of big-name individuals. Patrick Aguimang is, shining bright spot. He had minimal minutes. And now, in the past, 5 matches, his minutes are climbing up. He's starting to make more of an impact. He had, in these extended appearances from these last 2 matches, he had significant shot creating actions. He had a goal this last match. There is every reason in the world to be optimistic for this guy. He's showing a lot of good signs, the next guy up who's going to maybe really seize that striker spot. So, again, good results. I think Dean Smith is, as much as it pains me to say it, I think he's a good coach. I think he's going to outcoach a lot of other just standard MLS coaches in this league. And I think Charlotte at this point are likely to make a playoff spot. How high, who knows? But I would say that, you can be quite optimistic if you're a Charlotte fan at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing the, what is it called? The stereotype, the win your games at home, lose them on the road, and you'll make the playoffs. That's basically what they're doing right now.
Yeah. So I mean, their points they're at a playoff point level as well. They're at 1.42 across the whole season. And again, 1.4 was historically the playoff cutoff when there was 7 teams that could make it. Now there's 9. 1.42 will, in all likelihood, get you in.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree that they're playing more as a team. They're not individuals. I like Aguimang a lot up front for them. Defensively, they're pretty solid for the most part, especially at home. Hopefully they can build off this win against Nashville.
Yeah. All right. And we're going to go into a little bit of a controversial one on this one. It's Toronto. They did lose 2-3 to NYCFC. They're 9 points from their last 5. I mean, they've been doing quite well as of late. They're missing Bernadeschi with that red card, so going to be at least 1 match. I don't know if that's a 3-match suspension, if more will get tacked on. Worth noting, and I hate this is going to overshadow it, there was the post-match scuffle. There was some accusations being brought up by John Herdman about Nick Cushing, allegedly punching a player from their team during halftime of the March meeting. Nick Cushing categorically denies this. There's not been any statement from MLS on any investigation results as of yet. I don't know if we'll even see results of this investigation. From an on the field standpoint, Toronto are a pretty good team this year. They're doing quite well. They're sitting in fourth right now. They're winning, more often than they're drawing or losing combined. Like, they're going to be fine. They're a talented team. They have a good coach. NYCFC, I cannot read right now. And it's so weird that I have to put them into like our last category of teams that are full throttle at the moment, because it's not what I expected at the start of this year.
Yeah, this one really surprised me. I mean, I thought this was an automatic win for Toronto, not because NYCFC were bad, but I just think Toronto were in great form. NYCFC have been home for so long. They're going to go on the road, and, they're coming off of a disheartening loss against Colorado at home. And NYCFC showed up and they put up a good fight. And so we got to give them props, and they got a huge away win. And so good on them. On Toronto's side of things, I mean, Insigne returned this match. I believe this was his first match back, unless I missed him off the bench last week, but I don't think so. And that'll be a boost to them because they've been missing him. It's kind of been the Bernadeschi and Prince Owusu show.
Right. Well, now they're missing Bernadeschi.
Oh, did he get off?
Yeah, no, Bernadeschi got that red card. Like the post-match red card. I think it was like given out way late.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, we'll
I know you brought it up, but
yeah.
So they're a team that wins on the margins, I think, kind of like Orlando City did last year, but they give me the vibe that they're gonna do it a lot. Like, it's not just a fluke here and there like some of the other ones we've talked about. Toronto feels like a team that they're gonna do well with the margins pretty much throughout the season.
It's like in the old days when they used to sing it's 1-0 to the Arsenal, winning on the margins there. Toronto, it might not be winning 1-0, but I think they will similarly win on the margins.
Yeah. They got to bounce back, though. They can't let this continue. So we'll see.
All right. We could talk about the incident now if you want, or we could talk about that for NYCFC later.
Let's talk about it now.
All right. Let's discuss the incident.
So there's some previous, like you said, allegations that Nick Cushing... Sorry. There's new allegations that previously Nick Cushing hit a player in the face.
Right.
In March. Time in the March game.
Right.
Yeah, not this game, in the March game.
2 months ago, which is insane. We're only now hearing about it.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, there's no reason to fabricate this. I would say, like, there's zero to gain from fabricating something like this.
Yeah.
For sure. But why are we just now hearing about it?
Yeah. But that's not what sparked everything.
No.
That's the main thing that's coming out of it, but I didn't see exactly what happened on the field. I just saw the social media videos.
Right. But Sean Johnson just like going bore.
Going off on Tanasiewicz.
Great pronunciation.
Thank you. That's all I'll say. He went off on him. I don't want to allege anything.
Right.
But
I haven't even seen any allegations yet.
Yeah, something escalated. For one reason or another, something escalated there, and Sean Johnson saw red. And it looked like a few other people around Sean Johnson also got a little bit more animated. Because Sean Johnson managed to break away from the pack. It was kind of funny to see Johnson just kind of break away from the pack and then go run after him. And then he got to him, and not so funny. Looked like he was giving him some knees to the gut. So not great. I'm sure there's going to be some lengthy bans for him, and it's an ugly post game for Toronto versus NYCFC, and I don't know if there's history there between the two clubs already, but this is gonna
build it.
Probably spark a new rivalry if it's not one already.
No. Hey, organic rivalries, right? Not manufactured.
Oh yeah, like Orlando and Philly always get into it. Every single time we play them, we get into it. Like we're basically a rivalry. We just don't manufacture it as a rivalry.
Yeah, it's like when New York Red Bulls visit anyone, they always get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay. We're gonna talk briefly about Houston and briefly about LAFC, even though we've kind of talked a little bit about both of them earlier. So Houston, they got Ache back. Look, they're cleared for takeoff. They have Ache back. That's it.
Their form.
They're in 7th place. They're at 1.55.
7th place. Yes, they're in 7th place.
And they've got Hector Herrera back. And you saw Houston without Herrera. You saw Houston sans Herrera. Now here's Herrera coming back, and what has happened to them? They look like a different team. They look like a competent team. They look like a dangerous team.
Remember that Chicago team we were talking about?
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
Houston lost to Chicago.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Yeah, I recognize that. And I am aware of that. Did they have Hector Herrera at the time?
No. I don't believe they did.
I don't believe they did either. I'm just saying, like, I put them here because that is how high I rate Hector Herrera.
Okay.
And we saw his impact in this most recent match.
Yep, we did.
That's it. That's the tweet. Hector Herrera will drag Houston to the playoffs and beyond solely on his own.
I want to see what more happens. I mean, they got dumped out of Open Cup by Detroit City.
Very funny.
Very funny, considering they were the holding champions.
Mm-hmm. Hilarious.
But hey, it is a big away win against SKC. Who do they have next? I guess that's what I'm more... Austin. They have Austin next. Midweek, they're away to Austin. Like, that's what I'm concerned about.
I'm not concerned about that.
Can they build on this? Are they actually ready for takeoff? Or is it...
They're cleared for takeoff. I don't know if they're ready for it, but...
Is it just a blip?
Yeah. They're cleared. The runway's open. It's up to them if they want to go down it.
They're going to turn the brakes on by accident.
Potentially. And then you know what? Then we will put them in the stall category. Last one in this category, and then we can move on to our final ones, and then we can be done with this podcast as we're running longer and longer every week. And this is going to turn into a all-night show by the end of the season.
Apparently.
LAFC.
Denny Bouanga.
Yep, Denny Bouanga.
That's the tweet.
Mm-hmm.
3 assists. They looked comfortable in the match against Vancouver. They're doing really well at home this season. I was really disappointed with their performance and result against San Jose on the road last week, and they've bounced back quite well.
Yeah, I don't think they've lost at home this season. For the record,
No,
they're 5-0-2, 5 wins, 0 losses, 2 draws. So, I mean, home is a fortress for them at this point in time.
Yep.
So,
and if Bouanga can keep creating like that, they'll be golden. Today, Olivier Giroud, announced either today or yesterday, announced that he is officially leaving Milan, AC Milan. He confirmed he's going to LAFC. So,
oh my gosh,
we're all
I'm
good
shocked.
there. And
I'm stunned that all this reporting that had been happening for a solid month, 5 weeks even.
It's just smart to not announce it, even though it's been reported. So you get the clicks there, and then the player confirms it, so you get the clicks there, and then they're going to formally announce it, and they're going to get the clicks there again. It's a strategy.
Yeah. Yep.
So
the wide world of social media impressions.
It's going to be good.
I
think it's going to be great for them.
It will be excellent for them. I don't disagree at all.
So.
All right, Gavin, I'm taking us to our final 5 teams, and then we're done.
Okay.
Full throttle. Miami.
Yep.
Won against Montreal 3-2. Number 1 in the league. They have Rojas, who looks like, depending on how long he stays there, that is a star in the making.
Yep.
That's it. They can give up all the games, all the goals in the world, every single match. Over the past 5 games, they have given up 8 goals. They're averaging almost 2 goals a match, 1.6. Thing is, they've scored 19 goals in the last 5 matches. That is ridiculous.
They're scoring a lot, right? But they're scoring efficiently.
Very much so.
They have the I think they only had 7 goals or 7 shots against Montreal.
7 shots.
They've got a 0.21 goals per shot currently. Every 5 shots they score a goal on average. Like, that's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So extremely efficient in front of net. Their only problem is, like, right now, they always concede first. I went and did the research. 10 out of the 13 MLS matches they've played, they've conceded the first goal.
Do they have any clean sheets?
Yes. They beat Orlando 5-0.
Okay.
They've got another couple, I think, as well. But yeah, they gotta stop that. Sooner or later, that's going to come back to bite them.
Yeah, probably down the stretch, especially when Copa America comes around.
Mm-hmm. So that'll be interesting to see. Yeah.
Cool.
I missed a correspondence corner, by the way.
Oh, yeah, hit us with the correspondence corner. Who's it
Sorry
for?
about that. Coach Joe.
Coach Joe for well, no, you haven't missed the correspondence corner because we're going to talk about NYCFC right now.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah. Hey,
full
throttle.
Like, how did I miss that?
Well, because we haven't talked about it, Gavin. You're cutting me off here. Hey, full throttle. NYCFC 3-2 win over Toronto. 12 points out of 15 from the last 5. We already talked about the scuffle. Gavin, please read us Coach Joe's correspondence corner since you are so eager to do so.
Okay, Coach Joe, NYCFC fan. The most important result Nick Cushing has secured during his tenure was marred in controversy. Interesting that he called this the most important result. That is interesting. NYCFC managed 3 goals against former club legend Sean Johnson and his fellow Italian colleagues, getting important 3 points away from the 5 boroughs. Hans Wolf showing flashes of why he was once a Premier League and Bundesliga player with 2 true assists and 1 more symbolic assist. He forced the penalty. And feel-good story Malachi Jones scored his first MLS goal in his first career MLS start. I had that in my notes, so good that Joe called that out. The real talking point of this match is the he said, they said of John Herdman and Nick Cushing allegations of assault at the reverse fixture at Yankee Stadium in March and the relevant kerfuffle that sprouted after the final whistle with Sean Johnson, Strahinja Tanisevich, Herdman, Cushing, Jovan Mijatovic, and Prince Owusu at the epicenter. Lengthy suspensions and lighter pockets almost certainly to follow. On deck, 2 more derbies at Filthy Philly on Wednesday and Red Bull Newark on Saturday.
That's a rough week coming up for them. Holy moly. I think that's going to tell us if NYCFC, like, if they're truly full throttle and if this isn't just, them ramping up only to abort takeoff at like the last second. Because, I mean, you win in Philly and Philly's there for the taking. You win in Newark and the Hudson River Derby. Anything can happen in that match. And here's the thing, New York Red Bulls, unbelievably good this year. They're sitting in 3rd place, within shouting distance of 1st and 2nd. So also phenomenal team. Win there, and it's hard to say that New York aren't, red hot right now. Joe's going to hate that because he hates the color red.
Well, his screen, what is it called? His profile pic is red.
Oh, wow. There we go.
It's the Cushing out logo.
It is the Cushing Owl logo. I don't know if he'll ever be able to change that, but Cushing is doing his best job convincing him to do so.
Yep.
I mean, a serious turnaround though.
So far,
give NYCFC their flowers right now before the week is over, because we don't know what's going to happen on Wednesday. But
right.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add in? I know you said you had some notes before we move on.
On NYCFC?
Yeah.
Malachi Jones' first goal in MLS. Other than that, I thought he was okay. And other than that, it was just a really entertaining match. Like, unfortunately, the allegations and stuff is taken away from a really good back and forth match with chances for both teams.
I swear this always happens. There's some great match, and it's like there was a terrible officiating decision, or there was like a controversy or something. Like never just a really good match, it seems.
Yeah. Yep.
So, all right. Well, hey, we're gonna go across the Hudson. We're gonna go to New York Red Bulls. 4-2 win over New England. Pros scored 4 goals. Cons, they did give up 2 goals to New England, who are terrible. So.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just for the record, that represents over 20% of the goals that New England has scored this season.
One of them was a penalty, though, right? It was a handball.
I mean, I'm just telling you, New England has scored 9 goals. This is 2 of their 9 goals. So
not great. I think, I don't know. I think Red Bulls are fine.
Yeah,
when one of the goals is a penalty, like, and it's a handball penalty, which are awkward, I think it's all right. I'd just be more concerned with the fact that the Revolution had actually like decent spells in this game. I remember towards the end of the first half, they looked pretty dangerous at times, and the Red Bulls just kind of were, not on the ropes, but they weren't dominating the match. They didn't look fully comfortable. So that's what I'd be more concerned about, but they got the 4 goals.
I do still wonder if maybe teams just look at New England right now and say, they're not good. So once we get into the lead, and it is a matter of, when we get into the lead. But when we get into the lead, we'll just kind of coast.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
But that said, 4 goals, respectable no matter how bad the opposition is, because they are still professional players. New York Red Bulls sitting in 3rd place right now. Good team. It's scary when New York Red Bulls are both a good team and have pressing and cohesive tactics.
I think I was wrong with the penalty, by the way. I think the penalty was for Red Bulls, not for New England. So New England scored 2 legitimate goals.
Gavin's out here spreading fake news.
I know. My bad.
Unbelievable.
I was thinking, I don't know. New York Red Bulls, they're all the same.
Our credentials as hard-hitting journalistic MLS podcasters going down the drain on this one. Hey, let's hit on the second to last one. DC United, full throttle. Once again, the name is the Benteke throttle because he's, a hat trick. He's a menace in front of goal. He is inevitable. You know what he's going to do. You cannot stop him. I don't know what else you want me to say here. Like, Benteke is going to, again, drag them to the playoffs in the same way that Hector Herrera is going to drag Houston to the playoffs. DC are sitting in 7th right now with 19 goals forced. I don't know offhand how many of those are Benteke. It has to be the majority.
He has 11.
So
he has 11. He's tied for Golden Boot.
That is unbelievable.
Get this. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. How many goals do you think are headers?
He has how many? 11? 10.
7 goals are headers.
Okay.
Of his 11.
Oh, nice. 7-11?
Yep.
Is it because Benteke is always open in front of goal?
Apparently. Yeah. So just a quick quote. Giacomakis called this match embarrassing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fair.
Hard to disagree with him there. I already gave my rant on the weak Atlanta defenders. Props to DC for getting the 3 goals and getting Benteke in good positions. My only worry is they can't keep the ball out of the back of their net. They keep conceding. And
Well,
so
Benteke keeps getting hat tricks. It won't matter.
yeah, it's kind of like what's going to give first. Is the defense going to figure it out and they're going to, really go on a tear? Or is Benteke's hot streak going to dry up a bit and they're going to start losing games here?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, they have Columbus breathing down their necks right now. It's very strange that they are in company with Charlotte and New York City FC, all 3 of them sitting on 17 points right now. So get the points while you can, because I mean, Columbus is going to be creeping up on them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Final thing, Gavin, I saved the best for last, but second best, technically, according to the table. FC Cincinnati winning the rivalry match, 2-1 win over Columbus. First time they've ever won at Columbus since coming into MLS. 12 out of 15 points from their last 5 matches. 4 wins in a row. Gavin, here is the stat that's really impressing me, though. In their last 5 matches, 7 goals scored, 5 goals allowed. This is a team playing on the margins.
Yes, they are, man. Yes, they are. Shouldn't have won last week. That's all I'll say.
Well, they won last week by 1 goal. Kevin Kelsey is, I think, the storyline for Cincinnati.
This week?
Yeah. And that is, he came in, big target striker, gets a phenomenal target striker, like a true number 9 type goal to give them the go-ahead lead, drags defenders out of position to free up space when Lucho goes in 2 minutes later to go 2-0 for Cincinnati. Now, either this is the absolute peak of Kelsey. I certainly don't think it's the floor. I think it's just a question of how frequently can that type of movement and finding that type of ball in front of net be repeated. If he can do it consistently, Cincinnati look to be back, with a true creative threat that unlocks their other players that struggle when they don't have that person dragging defenders with them. If this was, a one-off performance, though, then, we'll see. But look, it's right now, they're on a hot streak. Watch out.
Awesome. I don't have anything to add there.
Yeah.
You're the expert.
Allegedly an expert.
All
Gavin,
right.
we are at 2 hours and 7 minutes that we've been recording. It's 11:08 p.m. Shall I spare you from throwing money into the fire, or are you still feeling confident? You already did it? Okay.
Did you win yours last week?
No.
Good. So we're still 1-0?
Yeah, I cashed it out for the record, but we already said that it doesn't count. So
I went a different direction this week because I'm tired of doing money lines.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I went with a both teams to score triple.
Okay.
So I have 3 both teams to scores.
That is shocking for the record.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Orlando versus Miami.
Safe. Very safe.
DC versus Red Bulls.
You may as well tag Christian Benteke anytime goal scorer on that.
And then Portland, San Jose. If I don't get it, the only reason I wouldn't get it is midweek madness.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Midweek madness.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm gonna take all money lines again because I love money lines.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I think you gotta take FC Cincinnati over Atlanta.
Okay.
Because FC Cincinnati is at home. Atlanta are historically terrible away, and Atlanta are in dysfunction right now. I think I'm going to take Charlotte away over Chicago Fire because Chicago Fire are not a good team.
They're gonna screw you over this.
They are
one
going
midweek.
to
I'm
screw
telling
me
you.
over this 1 week.
I
You are
wouldn't touch
correct.
it. I wouldn't touch it.
I'm taking Charlotte.
Okay.
And you know what? Gavin, dare I believe in your boys?
Don't touch it. Don't touch it. I
Don't touch
promise
it?
you, don't touch it.
Okay.
Don't touch it with a 1,000,000-mile stick.
Don't touch it with a 1,000,000-mile stick.
Take Philadelphia. Take Philly.
No, I'm not taking Philly. I'm taking New York City.
It's negative 115.
I'm taking New York City away over Philly.
There's no way.
There's
no way that's happening.
There is absolutely ways it's happening. I'm locking it in right now. I'm taking Cincinnati, Charlotte, New York City. Taking the boy. It's the boys in blue parlay.
Yeah. Good luck, man. I don't think New York City is gonna pull it off.
They are
Eventually, Philly have to win at home. Eventually.
You know what? Midweek madness.
Okay.
Midweek madness. All right, that's it.
Parlay is a madness.
That parlay is a madness. You're right, but you love it. So
yeah,
I think, Gavin, it might be time to cue the music, though.
Oh my gosh.
Hey,
thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah, you all hung in there. If you're still listening to this somehow, because you are certified MLS sickos like us, can talk about 28 teams. We didn't even talk about Minnesota, for the record. They're on bye week round 2. So
now that you said that, we had a correspondent corner for them.
It's too late. I already hit the play button, Gavin. It's too late. So
Maddie's just happy that they're on top.
Yeah. No, I would be too. They didn't even play, and they're in second place right now. That is insane. 2 games in hand over RSL, for the record, and they're 2 points behind. So crazy.
Beautiful,
all
beautiful.
right, cool. Well, hey, remember, you can find Gavin on social media at LionsBlog1. You can find me on social media at Mr. Danger Russ. You can find the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast or online at mlsnowpodcast.com. Gavin, oh my gosh, we've made it. Oh, and that's right, Wyatt. You can find Wyatt on social media at Super Duper Wyatt. We plugged him earlier. We'll plug him again because we like Wyatt that much. Now, truly, that's it. Gavin, listeners, thank you very much for this marathon episode that you've all stayed locked in for. Till next time.
Till next time.